food pantry up to the front end of our meeting and slide everything back down if that suits everybody else.
Yes.
Okay, now with that, I think our citizen comments, we can actually do it that way. We could actually invite, after we take care of our minutes, we can actually bring our food pantry folks into citizen comments. That would be the way to handle this conveniently. So why don't you, well, we'll finish the minutes. Any further changes? Michael had proposed a couple of items which Rebecca took care of. Motion to accept the minutes with those changes.
So moved.
Okay, that's Mike. And Rebecca is from home, operating from home, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is she plugged in?
No, she's not on. No one's online. It's just it. And for some reason, I can't live stream right now. People can get on Zoom, but for some reason it's all logged out. So I'm gonna try and get that solved, but I am recording still.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you're recording. Okay, very good.
Yeah, try to get that resolved before tonight.
If you'd like to.
So with that, may I ask you to come up and find a convenient place to sit and introduce yourselves? We're going to talk about the
Just pull up a chair.
what you're doing.
Did we vote on the motion of
candy.
We have to vote.
Oh, we had a first and second, all those in favor of accepting the minutes? It's unanimous. Thank you.
I'm Katie Strong. I am president of the Waldeboro Food Pantry and this ballot cohort and troublemaker on our behalf. So I'm not exactly sure why I'm here tonight, other than that, in the last year or so, Waldeboro Food Pantry has grown a lot. And we have started looking at relocating. Because the current space that we're in, Dominic House, Peg and Davis. Peg and Ron, who are landlords and owners of that property, are extremely generous to us. That let us set up there. The last couple of years, but we know that we're outgrowing the site. So over the last year or so, we have looked at quite a few different buildings, lots of lands. Options as they presented themselves. One of which was a potential of maybe the community center when that was being built, but the plans for that have changed. And it came up through one of those meetings. The possibility of something at the Sylvania Hospice House site. So there's been a lot of conversation just amongst the food pantry, as you guys are probably well aware. People have strong opinions about that site. So one of the things I'd just like to say to all of you is thank you, because I know how much time and energy you guys have put into trying to reclaim the site and do something good for the town. And I appreciate that. I live a couple miles down the road, and I would love to see something other than what it is now. If the food pantry potentially fits into those plans and it works for everybody, that would be good. So I don't know what you would like to know, or if there's any questions I can answer, or.
Patty, has the food pantry board officially said they want to do this?
They have officially said that they would continue to research the location. So kind of the vote that we took was that if our funding were in place, if it were town approved, and we know that the site is safe from a health perspective, that we would pursue putting a building there, provided that it works out amongst everybody.
The original interest came up with Max and Julie when Jan and I were talking last spring, right? We met to talk about the community center for Maine Health. And I guess you then, there were various reasons for privacy and stuff that you felt that was not going to be the greatest. It suggested possibly the Sylvania plan, and that's how that all got started. Jan and I were. You guys. From a fundraising standpoint, first of all, the site, absent the taxity or whatever you refer to it as, it's a perfect place for a pantry. It's open, there's a lot of space. I think that if it's a park, it would be good for the pantry and good for the park. The dollars and cents, we would save probably at least in the cost of the land, maybe share and get some of the development of the site costs like water and power. But we would save probably about $200,000, and that would bring us down from maybe $1 million, $1.2 million that we would be seeking grants for, down to about 600 to 700,000. That's a huge difference for us. And if we can also, providing a board is comfortable, maybe our participation with the Sylvania plant might augment the park funding too. I don't know. But we certainly would like to be part of it, help the community in any way we can, because you guys help us.
Is there anything that this committee could do, so we have Janet, who's been here since the beginning, and we have Mike, who's kind of the, Mike Thayer, who's kind of the, chemist. Well, he is. I was going to call him he's like my Bill Nye the Science Guy, who could probably actually explain what the contaminants are and what potential risk that is there. I think people think that there's just something right under the ground that's going to come up and get you.
Yeah, no.
And actually, when you look at the science and you hear everything, it might be helpful.
Alec had asked me if I'd take him over. We looked at it Friday on that really windy day. It didn't stay very long. But I was suggesting they also check in with Joe Gornacci about that, because he was the one who deciphered all the engineering studies and all of that for us. And I reached out to find his email. He's now semi-retired, but I thought he'd be another voice, or maybe the two of you together could just review what's going on. Because he understood every little facet of it that we didn't understand about what to cap, what that means, where the plume is. We all know that.
Years and our board members as fully as we can, and then it's so from there. So however we do that,
I'd be happy to talk to them.
Oh, super. Yeah. Max game, we thought that was pretty good.
Not enough.
Not enough, Max.
I like,
He did.
I like how quick that was. Max was there.
It broke some ice, because we really, there's people who have a long history with that site. And it's tough. And we've fought really hard to try to ask people before they make that judgment, really learn the science. So we're making an educated decision. So anything that goes towards that would be wonderful. Because I do think as I'm kind of thinking of what you guys have been talking about, what's there, and potential for food pantry, and Janet, who is our operations manager, because there's so much food that goes through our pantry that we could be using better if we had the option. I was thinking about, what if on the side of the food pantry, it was like a concession. So when there's things happening at the pavilion, we could do fundraisers for the food pantry. We could cook out of our awesome kitchen and raise money for the food pantry and serve our community at the same time. So I think there's a lot of synergy between the two things. And, community gardens. I know you can't mess with soil, but you can have raised beds. And I think it would just go a long way in getting people to trust it again and see the potential for what it could be.
I sensed some reservations among some of your board, and is it mostly tied to the volatile?
Yes, if there were no.
Tetrachloroethylene, when you say it, freaks people out.
Right, or VOCs, you name it.
Or
or
just
retrosite.
contamination in general. It's like, why can't we just look at someplace else? Well, we have, we've looked at a lot of options, and quite honestly, it's easily accessible. Hooking up to sewer, water, electrical, I mean, I do real estate as well, so I know a lot about trying to develop a piece of land, and buying land is potentially the easy part if you buy a good piece. But the development that goes into a piece of land is extraordinary.
And I mean, I think people have to realize too, is that not only the, you know, the DEP has to sign off on everything. And then it has to also be approved by the EPA. And I mean, you know, we just had that round of inspections, not last, I guess it was last year. I think it was last year. And, you know, we passed with flying colors. They were really excited about what we were planning there. They were very supportive, the people who came up from Boston for the EPA. So, you know.
Well, I can give you 3 examples of things that have just come up.
Mhm.
One would be back in one of the reports somewhere, there were suggestions for what the land could and couldn't be used for. And so when they said, well, if you can't have what was it, a preschool, and if you can't have a residential nursing home, why is it okay to have a food pantry? It's a completely different development, and I get that, but that's something you have to convince other people of.
Correct.
Another one was, well, what about liability insurance? Like, what kind of insurance are we gonna be able to get for an contaminated facility? So these are the things that people bring up that
So
we
there's-
have to get past that.
So that would be covered under our insurance. Because essentially it would still remain our property.
We have these.
You'd have a lease.
If you're following up with that, go ahead. I probably am changing the subject, so.
With regard to liability, yes, there are solvents on the site. Is anyone exposed to them now? No. Is anybody going to be exposed to them in the future? And the route by which these solvents would get into a person's body is through water, through drinking water. You'll be on the public water supply. You won't be using groundwater on that site. The real issue is fear of liability by the former owner of the property. Because if anybody gets sick for any reason, they're gonna blame the contamination. But that is the real issue, not any real
Transference.
toxicity issue.
That's lead bands,
Yes. And they're still, so everybody's really clear,
still on hook.
they're still on the hook, so. What would happen, the only reason insurance would come in is say you put in a furnace and you have a fuel oil
Right.
tank and something like that leaks,
Yeah.
that's a whole new,
That's your bad.
that's our bad, not,
That's us.
but it's not something lead vance would be held responsible.
What's driving us is, well, first of all, from last year to this year, we almost doubled. Almost doubled the people we fed.
The better we get at our job, the higher the demand is. Higher demand.
Well, I think you have a lot of factors this year, and I can just share a little bit of what we're experiencing here at the town. It's one is LIHEAP is late or non-existent. So that's forcing everybody else to, if you're trying to afford fuel oil, there's a lot going on there. So we're seeing an increase in that. We're seeing an increase in rents that people are having a really hard time trying to adapt to. So we're seeing more requests for help. Bob and Mike can attest to that from sitting on the select board and what we're seeing through Philbrook Fund. So there's a lot of other factors, and honestly, I think with our community navigator and with us here, when somebody calls and says, I'm out of oil, we're like, okay, so we're taking care of the oil piece. But what we're trying to do is say, do you, at the same token, on that same phone call and just saying, okay, we fixed the oil, we all feel great about ourselves. It's, what else can we help you with? So we're trying to make sure that people are getting resources that say, hey, you know, not only do I have that issue, I have a huge, because I was out of oil, my electric bill is now $600 or, so we give them out the pantry dates.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what we're all about.
That's right. Oh, no,
it's
but
kind of like this vicious circle.
I'm gonna be, here's my Debbie Downer part. I'm not thinking that's gonna get easier.
No, I don't think it is.
So I think we've got to face facts that there's going to be this increased, or not increased, even sustained at this level. So the level you're at now is what the level we were at during COVID. when we were running it out of the food pantry out of here. So, I think that is very telling. I think we're back to that. Those numbers and probably more. So I would say it's probably gonna hang out there for quite a while.
So as the safety net gets cut, we're gonna see a flood of people coming in. And our current utilization is about 26 to 14 to 26% of those in need enrolled based on the sources that I got to be challenged. But fundamentally, we're covering about 15 to 26%, and we're open 2 days a week, 2 days a month. Tuesday, the first and third Tuesday for 3 hours. And each day we serve 176 families or 453 people. We've served, so we've got all the metrics as to what we're doing. More importantly, those metrics tell us also what the traffic patterns are. Because we have 2.6 people per car, so a family is a car. We can then project out what the traffic patterns, what the flow is going to be, and also because the AIO, we're in their slipstream. They've got a new building, and they're doing great. And I mean, it's great to have somebody to follow who's already done the hard work figuring it out. And they would have more space if they wanted, if they needed to, and they would configure it differently inside. We'll leverage that knowledge in our place. I don't know. I just have a very brave feeling as to what's going to be happening. And I think there's a food pantry. We need to get a building. We need to get it up. We need to feed people. And in the interim, and this is important, in the interim, which is, so the 1-year plan is to improve where we are, which is a rental, and we're packed in there when we're serving. Is an interim step to when we get a building. Is there, and I present that, maybe there's some ideas. The more we talk about it, more people hear it. But we need space to bridge, because we're going to get flooded.
You mean for storage?
No, for serving and preparing. So
Yeah,
for example,
where we are right now is, it's a very generous space, it's extremely affordable. And, it's awkward. It's uphill, it's tough in the winter, it's uphill, it's icy. Kind of the way it works right now, is that, everything is in the building and it's all prepared the day ahead of time, and then more stuff comes in the morning. And we are packed to the gills, and people, they come in, they check in, they say, I'm serving a family of 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, and we have carts that come out and bring food out to the cars. And it works, and we'll keep making it work, because that's what we do. But if we had other options available, really the option right now is to probably put it out, similar to what AIO did, which was like, hey, we are outgrowing their space. Does anybody have any options, any ideas? Do you have a building you're not using? Do you have I don't know, and store it, it's much easier. I'm speaking from a spoiled perspective in that it's much easier to have everything in one place, because if you're trying to store things off-site and then having to bring them in, it just makes it that much more confusing.
Because I know we used to borrow freezer space from the school when we were doing it.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit even with, we have a lunch, the food that goes home with the kids for Miller's on the weekend, and AIO actually, they got funding for that during COVID. So they offered to continue to do it because they're already doing it anyways, as long as we were willing to fund it. So we were like, great, because they already have a system in place. But they wanted to put some cold items in there. And so we had reached out to Miller School and said, if we got this to you ahead of time, would you have it? She's like, I'm not trying to be obstructive. She's like, but I have reach-in refrigerators in my gym right now because we're out of space in our kitchen. We don't have any place to.
Yeah, I think we did it up at the middle school.
So we'll just keep doing what we're doing to the best of our ability. And if we have the option to, the hours we have right now for, basically anybody, if you can't be there those days, because they're kind of weird hours, but it's what works. And you can send a friend, you can send a clergy person, you can send a family member, anybody who can vouch for the fact that they're picked. So we try to make it as convenient as possible in the confines of what we're doing. And the thought is, well, maybe we're gonna add another day, add some different hours, but then we have to get more volunteers. So
University of Maine has a building on 235.
Oh, cooperative
The
extension
cooperative extension.
near the high school.
Yeah.
Are they not using it?
I don't know.
I mean, I think.
I think
got a
they,
lot of
it-
staff.
last I was there, those are offices and they also do like educational programs there for kids and farmers.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I'm not sure. I
It
haven't
was
been
just a
there.
thought.
The driving force for us to have a building is we can serve more people. But the main thing is to be able to provide them a grocery style shopping experience. It's better nutrition, better dignity, less waste. And that was sort of the thing, right?
So I have a question about that, and this AIO plan here, this is something that's going to happen in Rockland, is that
Oh,
right?
it already is.
It already is.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a full service organization, so you've been talking about a market kind of setup, but are you talking about like all the services being located there, coming out of the Navigator and?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
that's-
lot of offices, a lot of independent,
Well,
Yeah.
not the Navigator.
private meeting rooms. and-
That's their. That's,
Right, so is it,
Yeah,
no,
we're hoping-
what
we're
I'm
hoping
trying,
we can do that.
what I'm trying to get a sense of for the neighbors, because now this is gonna be a very busy business, it's not just gonna be a park, it's gonna be a very busy business in that neighborhood. It's gonna be open more than, 9 to 5 kind of thing, probably have evening things going on, so just kind of interesting to get an idea of, what to expect for the activity level.
Yeah,
That
that's what
just
we have.
generates.
That's what we have the metrics that we're figuring out the traffic, the number of people.
Right,
And as we go forward, Jan and I will, work with whomever in the committee to see how this can work out and we'll get into the traffic.
but I think for the traffic and stuff, right now, everybody comes between a certain amount of hours.
Yeah.
If you're in a market situation, that's gonna be spread out a little bit
It would
differently.
still have.
It would still have hours,
yeah,
but you're
still have
probably
some.
not going to have the line that goes down Friendship Street.
Yes, and the other option is also. Like pre-prepared, like people actually like Hanford's to go, because a lot, for a lot of people, I like to go in and pick up my groceries, but sometimes. And somebody else did it, it's great, and so we want to be able to give people options, whether, we definitely have to be able to keep a drive-through option because who knows? Another pandemic, whatever. To be able to have people come into the building and do a grocery style experience, if that's, AIO provide, they have a coffee space, they have like, they're big time, we're like the babies and they're like the mentor. So whether we would ever get to that place, I don't know. Right now, it's how can we serve the customers that we have? How can we expand in a respectful manner to the neighbor?
Right.
If the neighbor's on your side, then you don't want to be there.
And is there a way to do it here that hasn't been done before? So of course, you're gonna look to other municipalities as models. If they're bigger, then you might say, we want to become them, or you might say, well, it's not who we want to become exactly, but we do want to have an impact and a scope in some other way. To that extent. And I would just say, I think, one of my central missions in life is to turn negative feelings to positive feelings at every level, personal, familial, community. And it seems like the number one challenge here is to correct misinformation about the contaminants and science of the site. And you can localize that to the food pantry board, because it sounds like that's a hurdle that needs to get passed in order to have the next conversation about do we want to move forward more seriously about this site, because you probably can raise the money. Yeah, okay. And it's a good deal, and the town would probably be on board if the details are worked out. And I think the people on this committee who are interested in the park, who aren't on this committee, also find this quite intriguing. So I think all the other pieces are in place right now. So I think that's the next step. But I would just say that I see that in this bigger picture of turning negativity to positivity, right? So it's not simply misunderstanding the science. If that is totally there, and you need to be as clear as possible what we know and what we don't know. But it's the set of emotions around that, you know. I wouldn't take my kids there because, you know, how dare the town of Waldoboro take this on because it's contaminated. So it's much more emotionally complicated. And so that's not, you know, you don't need to take that on, but I'm just sort of flagging it as that's what it feels like at large. So this is to say that you know, part of the challenge for everyone here is actually to create positivity around this entire project. And so I'm thinking now, if it is more and more of a collaboration, let's just say hypothetically between the food pantry and the town / the, you know, Sylvania committee, we need to be working together on messaging. And the messages shouldn't just be around the contaminants, and they shouldn't just be around we can serve more people, because unfortunately, I don't think people want to need to go to the food pantry, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole other negative stigma about, well, I don't want to have to go there. So is there a way actually to change the entire field to say, and this is what I think the shopping experience is sort of gesturing at, but we're not just about providing people in need. We're about showing people, you know, how central food is to our lives. It brings families together. It brings people together. We're going to have cooking classes. You know, we're going to have grow stuff in the beds next door. The whole food sovereignty effort, you know, I mean, I know that's also complicated, but like, I'm sure there are allies there in terms of trying to focus back onto the community, what we can provide to our neighbors, that we don't have to turn to large entities outside of this community. So all of this, I feel, can be interwoven into a narrative around what could happen in Waldoboro. And it's not just because we have a problem, but because we have an opportunity. And I think that that is so crucial for bringing people on board who may not actually have a direct connection to this, but have a big voice and will use it, and it yield, you know, bring a different another challenge for us. So it's just to say, like, I think this is really interesting, but as an opportunity, but because there's so many moving pieces, you know, like you know, what would be the footprint of the food pantry, and then what kind of other activities, what kind of traffic, really does impinge upon some of the ideas that we've been floating around designing this park, you know. And I think if we're at this juncture where we're like, okay, these are what the community is saying they want, you know, these components, the gazebo, blah, 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 blah. We start mapping this out, all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute, how much space do we actually have here, right? And so we start getting into these real questions about, okay, are there limitations on put towards you or put towards us because of this this collaboration? So I'm just saying, I think it's so important to be in constant contact about this, you know, like every month, where are you and where are we? So that we can be adjusting together, not necessarily deciding on anything at any one point, but adjusting constantly.
Join the committee.
Huh?
Why don't I join the committee?
You're welcome to join. Anybody's welcome to join this committee, please.
Please.
But so I just wanted to say that, just so I think it's important that we keep that larger trajectory in mind.
And Alex, at one time you had said about 4,000 square feet, that still hanging in there?
That's, well, we, that's about what we would be
Mhm.
expecting. The AIO is, they're about 3,500 feet.
Okay.
They could use a little bit more space.
48.
And our hope is, as Michael's been talking about, is to house like an energy thing. Other services that have the same clients, you know. The AIO, they had rows of chairs. Well, they got rid of those. They got a little coffee table, so everybody, so the grocery store opens at 10, or the grocery area, and they all get there around 8 or 9 and have coffee, and it's community. It's amazing. Anyway, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but where is the Sylvania committee in your process of educating the community and getting it on a warrant? Plan to.
I would say we're doing baby steps now, because the committee has yet to commit to plan. We're still in the development phase.
Just very quick, Janet.
No.
raised her hand.
November would be the quickest we would get anything before the public.
Yeah,
And
Alex,
what is,
we're only just now hopeful that the work that Max and Michael have done to create a draft application to the National Park Service will give us some of the technical resources to come up with some concept plans, visualizations, things people can see. Now, we've already reached out to the extent that we have been able to. And I think frankly, you all have done about 100% of what you could do, given the product we had available, which is pretty limited. But if we can come up with this next step of concept plans and a path forward, then it would become a very, very busy year suddenly if we had those products.
we're ready to do work. I mean, we've got the data, we're ready to help
You-
you and
so- Excuse me,
understand our
just-
needs.
excuse me, Janet's been raising her hand a few times.
Well, I mean, my gut reaction is that if we can figure out the contaminant piece and get that message out in a more, in a way that's acceptable, that you would be able to go to lots of different sources than we would probably go to, and that we could actually make some tangible progress possibly on the food pantry before some of these other facets of the park. And I think that would build a lot of goodwill in town if we can tell the story in some more the emerging of interest way. And I just wanted to show a map because I thought, okay, 4,000 square feet is not very big. And so if you look at our map, and you can come look at it, those little yellow squares are about actually closer to 4,500 square feet. So you could put it on a corner of the pad, you could put it near a park. There's so many options on the site that aren't going to really derail what we've been talking about. You know, our questions are going to be aesthetics. Do we want it not front and center, or do we want it front and center? And, you know, those kinds of things, and obviously access to parking and drive through, but there's a lot of options. Apart from which I wasn't voting for the pavilion area. I feel like it could be on the hardscape part because it's hardscape. But anyway, it was, to me, I thought, oh, wow, is that right? And I measured the scale quite a few times, but that's not, there's a lot of options. So I guess I wouldn't think of this as a major
One or the other.
shift. It's an addition. Yes, not at all one or the other. We could keep pretty much almost everything we had in mind, but might want to, you know, when it comes to the aesthetics and all the flow, hopefully we'll have good advice on how to do that. So I think,
You guys have a lot of other.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, our next step is to inform our board and then our volunteers. I shouldn't say inform, to educate them better, which means I'm gonna be reaching out to you guys to make that happen.
Okay,
Apparently, they're pointing at you, so
I can write a synopsis of what happened, say.
would you be
It's
willing
correct,
to come talk to them? Like if we set up a little board meeting? Yeah, I think the in-person is very helpful because questions.
So why don't you do it 3 times a month now? I mean, if you're cramped for space and you're filling up the space, is it a question of volunteers, people power, or why not have more? people
I
go
quite
through?
honestly, the short answer is that's just the way it was set up.
So I will tell you about, so we did it here with the resources we had, augmented by the volunteers that felt comfortable volunteering during COVID, and we did it once a week for 6 months. I will tell you,
about that?
I had built-in firefighters and EMS people who were here, and I did all the ordering. It was a lot.
I'm sure.
It's just, it's a lot. And I mean, I had strong young people helping.
Mhm.
And
And
it was a lot doing it like that.
We have an amazing operation.
And I mean, we were $3,000 a week in food.
Janet Lee is like the best budget shopper
Mhm.
ever, and I thank God that we have her.
And that was back when we would get really good deals too, you know, so it's a lot. I mean, it went from being every week, it went to being, I think, twice a month. Then when we took it over, it was every week. And then I think it went, wasn't it still every week for a while? And then it went back to twice a month. There was some evolution there.
And are these set up so that anyone can go in and buy
Any-
something,
The way
or?
at our food pantry currently.
Yeah.
So
No,
currently,
this place in Rockland.
oh, AIO, they work like a grocery store. So
Oh, I
no,
know.
no, 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 they have clientele, so they serve a community.
Okay.
Free. And they do a lot, and they serve, I mean.
You have to, when you go in, you are registered.
Yeah.
So,
There's
and some of
criteria.
that has to do with funding because we keep. Blah, 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 because we through like Good Shepherd, and so they wanna know who you're serving, so there's paperwork that goes along with all of it, and. You know, and AIO, they serve all of Knox County. So
Hmm.
when we talk about their building and their, I mean, I think they have a much bigger capacity than.
There's also some public transportation.
Yeah, and there's, you know, so I'm not quite sure that we would ever be at the AIO level. But we would like to serve our community to the best of our ability, to the best extent we can.
Because Carl just came up with this being 4,800 square feet, but yeah. And if you have less community, so it's an interesting issue. What size do you really need?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
When we have a site. Generally figured out, then we can start planning the building,
Hmm.
you know. And if that doesn't work out, we can take the building and put it somewhere, but I'll mention to start designing the building and getting that set, and it can be movable anywhere.
So you end up having those big kind of food truck like Hannaford's has for deliveries?
they're
Once you
not
get set-
18-wheelers, but they're, yeah, it's a.
Box truck.
Yeah,
The
box truck.
box truck.
So, and
A loading dock would be great.
Yeah.
and they're normally our deliveries are at like 7, 8 in the morning, so. I don't think that we could just start thinking, but we're pretty close to our neighbors right now where we're at.
Very
And
close
we
to you.
haven't had anyone given us a. But thank you guys very much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the guys that do this.
You too.
Thank you.
You do.
Come back anytime.
Yes, and we'll consider,
Join the committee.
being
So-
ex officio. show
Just so
up.
everybody who says just join the committee, if there is a process, they have to go through select board.
Follow the process.
So you just have to follow the process.
Consider yourself ex officio right now, and then we'll move from there.
We'll give you Alex will give you paperwork to fill out.
There you are.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Have a
It's nice
fun
to meet
budget
you.
committee.
It was nice to meet you. We do. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Just put it to this building. Do you know
I
off
have no idea.
the top of your head? Yeah.
About 5,200 with just in what we just HVAC'd, which would be from the door to the bays over here. But that
So not
includes
the
the
fire-
hallway, not the fire department. So
It's about 65 by 65 feet.
This,
No, 4,000 square feet would be that big if you wanna.
it's, I mean, even if they went to 5 or 6, I don't think we'd have too big of a deal finding the area.
No, it wouldn't.
It's an attractive idea, it feels like, to have these same folks operate as a concession on site too.
It's some good
Yeah.
synergy there.
Yeah.
Is that the word I'm looking for?
and
Potentially.
we could have cart races.
Bathrooms too, yeah.
We could motorize them.
Oh, there you are.
Electric shopping cart rings.
Very appealing.
No,
The
that's-
challenge is
that's
to try to
interesting.
normalize it instead of making it invisible, you know. Try to think about how to eliminate some of the stigmas.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be making it more than just a building.
Right.
Yes,
The-
yes,
the-
indeed.
The Waldeboro Food Pantry is more than just a building.
It would activate the park quite a bit.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, I think so.
It's
More
yeah,
energy.
you get a lot
I
of
think so.
younger people probably.
Well, we do have an aspirational leveraging that's possible here. It's very interesting, which when we get to the grant application, perhaps we should be considering including them as a partner in the development of the site with respect to the National Park Service, understanding that we want to reach as broad a segment of the community as possible.
Yeah.
Would you, what do we do with survey results? You had sent everything out to us that you had available to you. And I think that was going to inform our next step with the park name
Mhm.
in particular.
So the park name, I got marching orders from the select board, so I contacted the principal. They are going to, I gave her a deadline and we're just working out the how exactly we want to do it, if they want to do it during lunch or they want to have each teacher conduct the vote. And we should have a name by April 1st.
So Governor's
Wait.
Park is out of the running? Is it just those four names?
That was the 4.
I
Governor-
corrected one. Was my
Right.
correction the correct?
It went to
Colonial
Colonial.
Park and Recreation,
Colonial.
is that an option?
That really was what they had picked, yeah.
Okay, I thought there was Governor's Park.
They didn't
I-
pick that one.
Park too.
Yeah, they didn't
I
pick
like
that
that
one.
one.
Oh, gosh, I'm gonna just be a
Yeah,
wet blanket here. I mean, there's been so much work in the state to try not to use the word colonial.
Yes.
And colonization is so fraught now for people that are Black or Native American, and I feel like we should think about that, even though now it's the sort of the cat's out of the bag. And then the Governor Ames, or Governor's Park, when I mentioned that to a few people, like which governor? What governor? Is this Governor Mills? Who are we talking about here? So I feel like that too is,
well,
Well,
so the governors were there, I believe there were 2 governors that were referenced in that. I actually don't know who came up with it, but Governor Marble, who became governor in the late 19th century, but was one of the first major Republicans in town pre-Civil War. So one of the first major anti-slavery political candidates in Waldoboro, lived in the house of Benjamin Brown, which was located exactly where the Sylvania pad is. And then the other governor that was supposed to be referenced in that title was the governor who helped negotiate bringing Sylvania as a company to town to work, to take the factory building.
Did he live in the Haywood House?
No, that's another governor.
Right, 3
This
governors.
is a 20th century governor.
There's one more governor too. Governor Ames was the name
That's
of a
when I was-
5-masted cylinder.
Yeah,
That's what I was
right, but I was,
thinking.
no, that's true. I was saying
So
there
your
were,
recommendation
there-
would be to the select board would be to take the Colonial Park name out and substitute one other name in there.
well, just a few things. One, yes, there are other governors who've lived actually in Waldoboro. I was just saying there are actually 2 governors you could tie to that particular site of Sylvania. I was being ultra specific. I think that is a really good point about Colonial Park. But maybe what I was going to suggest doing is that my question would be, how are the teachers and the students understanding these names, right? So, for example, I could go in and say,
Well,
I'm going to give a 5-minute talk on each name. Very neutral, just be like, we could think about history geographically, we could think about history in terms of time periods, we could think about history in terms of people, and each of these names for a park are different ways of thinking about that. And then let them decide, you know what I mean? So I'm sort of wondering, and I wonder if that would allow us to address some of these things.
Yeah, but
But what the
if you
process
just
is,
don't
I
like
think
that name, I can go back to select board and say, hey, this is the name that they would let you just pick another one out of that 10 list of 10.
yeah, I mean, I just, it's my opinion, and I've been
Well,
involved for years.
You know, as a
because-
committee, I think that's worthy of a motion and a vote, because I feel very strongly about the erasure of indigenous history.
Right,
And we don't need to lend any more to it than
That's
we've
how
already
I
done in our own
feel.
lives.
this is not progress, so many, like 100 conservation groups in Maine, for instance, all land trusts are moving beyond this kind of language consciously. Because, and they work with Wabanaki and other people who find it really offensive. So I just,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, I'm gonna just throw this one out. This is starting to get to me more and more when I go anywhere. There's never a statue of a woman. And there's never a woman's name for a place. Think of place.
So-
So I'm just throwing that out there. I feel like it could be an opportunity to push the envelope a little bit.
So I
I'm
think
sorry that's
that,
recorded.
I think that, well, we are recording, but I think that people actually submitted the names. That was something that everybody could have submitted. Unfortunately, I don't think there was a woman's name on it.
No, there
No,
wasn't.
so I don't want to go back. We have the list of names.
Yes.
Okay.
We have what we have.
We have what we have. I think it's got to go forward. If there's a name that you want to eliminate, that's fine, but I don't want to go back and ask for more names.
Fair
So,
Fair enough. I
so
agree.
I get what you're saying, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Bob hasn't heard much.
Yeah, and the silver lining in all this is we can change the name of this committee once the school has made its choice.
So,
I hope
here.
it's that colonial.
so here, Bob, since you have a computer up, what name do you want to of all the names on the list, what name do you want to insert for the Colonial Park one?
What's the full list? I mean, I personally,
The list that,
I don't have it up available.
Is it in the survey results?
Pretty dry.
Where am I gonna find it?
I had sent it to you in an email, all of I can, here, I'll find it.
well, I was thinking more than the five, are you thinking of the original?
No, not the whole original list, because
Oh,
then
okay.
the
Six.
Historical Society went through and gave us more, so.
I mean, my favorite is Dominic because I feel like that's,
And I will tell you, a lot of people feel like that's overdone.
I know, I agree with that too, but I feel like it's the one that honors the place.
So here were the 10 names. You ready?
Okay, okay.
We'll lower the. Madomic River Community Park, Dawnland Park, Waldoboro Family Park, Lightship Park, River Park, Governor's Park, East Bank Park, Waldoboro Community Park, Hofstas Park.
And the one with Colonial was Colonial Park and Recreation.
Right. So the ones that the select board selected were Madomic River Community Park, River Park, Waldoboro Community, well, no, wait, hold on. What was I?
Did you say East Bank too?
No, they had East Bank in there. Hold on. They were Madomic River Community Park, Waldoboro Community Park, East Bank Park, and Colonial Park and Recreation. So if you wanted to, I mean, if you're looking for something other than that, those were the 10 that were given.
Make a comment.
Yeah,
As part of the Economic Development Committee, not the community. I think the name Waldoboro, in whatever the title is for the park, puts us more on the map. And that's, we're the hub, we're trying to become the hub. And Waldoboro, the name of the park, would be a great thing. So that's my 2 cents.
What do we have with the name Waldoboro in it again?
Waldoboro Community Park.
Community.
And Waldoboro Family. Those were 2.
Okay, CP.
No, Waldoboro Community Park. Wait.
Michael, the Governor's Park, are you implying that it would mean several governors in that name or
Well,
just? you're
I would
gonna
present
pick
it
one?
as meaning, well, governors associated with that site, and you could also suggest other governors who have some affiliation with Waldoboro. I mean, that's how you would sort of understand it. I mean,
Mhm.
that would be the only way of
We
understanding
have
it.
to weave that story into the understanding.
Yeah, that would be complicated, I think, because it's not that it's not true, it's just that it's not immediately recognizable why you're calling it that.
Right, and
What years was the governor living on the site?
Oh, that was the 1850s.
I'd vote for the Madomic, the Waldoboro ones, the place name ones.
Place name,
For
Waldoboro.
those colonial governors that are gonna.
All you gotta do is replace one
Gotta
name.
replace one.
Just tell me one name. That's all I need, guys.
I move that
I would-
we replace Colonial with Waldoboro Family Park.
But you've already got Waldoboro Community Park.
Oh, well, then you've got.
I mean, there was,
I
Withdraw.
was just curious, there was a suggestion.
there's a Madomic already in there.
Dawnland, sorry.
That was my grandson's.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
so Dawnland is actually, right, that's a native name.
Sure, yeah.
The only, it's beautiful. The only issue is that, you're facing, the wrong.
We got you. Geographic zone.
The 7-year-old, I will give you the 7-year-old's insight into that name. He was really interested in the whole Wabanaki, so some of that came from words that were from the Wabanaki, and he thought it was
I think it's a great.
it was a cool name.
And Dawn is a very feminine name, actually, I don't know too many guys named Dawn, but I know women named Dawn.
Yoann Land.
I'm just saying, that was cute. But anyway, that was a 7-year-old's guess.
I think this is
honestly-
Wabanaki for a clam gathering place. I think this is how you say it. Manaskatic, Maneskatik, Manaskatic.
People will have a really hard time saying it. It's like kind of like Skidopuma.
Well, Alex has suggested that we reiterate the place name by the use of Waldoboro. So the other one, which is not presently included, is Waldoboro Community.
Well, I think we've got, so the 4 that are there already are, we have a Madomic River Community Park, option. We have a Waldeboro Community Park option and East Bank Park. So the fourth one, you're gonna replace Colonial Park and Recreation with another name. But if you're gonna just add another Waldeboro name to it, then you're,
You know, you could keep Colonial Park and just say that this is a perfect opportunity to have a discussion among the students of why and why not you might take a name, and just hope that they don't vote for it.
but bear in mind, you're gonna go for, there's a lot of young kids that,
It would be real, I don't know, I
Very
just think,
democratic of you.
but that would be great at an older level, I think.
okay, fair enough, yeah,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
I think you gotta go with. We've already got one that has Madomic in it. We've already got one that has Waldeboro. We have East Bank.
I go for Dawnland because, you know, when you use that term, people aren't worried about whether they're facing east or west.
Yes.
We are the state.
That's
that
right.
Waldeboro
It's the
Donland
first-
Park?
Or
Or
just
just Dawnland.
Dawnland.
I think if you're, it's in Waldeboro, it's implied it's in Waldeboro. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. It's up to you guys.
We'll see what people like.
Yeah, we're-
I just need one name to give
she
to the
needs it
select
right
board
now.
tonight.
We're the people.
Does anybody else like Governor Park? It seems like it gives us options. I guess I'm the only one. Does anybody else like?
I'm
else likes
not big
Donland?
on Governor's Park.
How about Donland?
Yeah.
Any arms raised?
like-
for
I like
Donland?
Governor Ames Park. I don't like Governor's Park, but I like Governor Ames Park.
Well, Joe's
No.
And
like-
that's a
not our-
5-masted schooner, and I've always wanted to have a playground with a 5-masted schooner on it.
You can
You're
still-
dying to
you
We can still do that.
We'll still do it. You get a
We can
chance.
do
I
the
know you
Governor
are.
Ames Playground.
There you are.
There you go.
You see?
That's a good idea.
Well, if anybody cares, I think that Dawnland is not yet an overused expression. And I wouldn't mind seeing it here. It doesn't entirely fit because of where we happen to be up in the watershed. You know, 10 miles down the road, it feels better. But we need to come up with a replacement for Colonial, and we need a consensus, or at least a majority vote.
What's your vote?
Well, I like Dawnland. I've given the choices. My personal preference is not that, though. My preference is Waldeboro Community Park,
Yeah, I mean, that may
Okay,
not be the name that gets chosen, but.
What, Donland?
Waldeboro Community.
We need to just substitute another term.
Yes, that's all we're looking for now.
Or risk Colonial Park being voted in.
Well, if you want to take it out, you can, but I mean, you're gonna risk, that's part of getting the kids involved. It's not gonna be, it may not be what you guys want.
That's true, that, yeah, East Bank may be the most popular choice.
East Bank might be the most
Which is
popular
okay.
choice.
With me.
But again, this was the way to get the kids involved.
Right. So it's just, but it's just that I feel like
The
if
Colonial,
that ended up being it, I would be very sad.
Yeah, I endorse that. Do we have an alternative to simply delete Colonial and not make a replacement? Or did I misunderstand the rules?
well, it has to go back to select board. So if you say, hey, we'd like you to take this name off of consideration and but I think they'd appreciate you giving them feedback as to what name you'd like to put in that place.
Okay. Out of respect, sure.
Did we try
Yep.
voting?
So is there a motion?
Somebody's got to make a motion so we can have a vote.
All right, since I brought this whole thing, up, I move that we replace Colonial with Dawnland as a name.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Replacement. Michael seconds it. Again, the motion is to delete Colonial Park, replace it with Dawnland. Any further discussion about that idea? Hearing none. All is in favor of that motion?
I don't care.
Well, we're not getting there then.
Well, I can't vote because I'm voting on this
I-
again.
yes, sir. I forget.
So
So how
it's
many votes do
You
you
can't
need?
vote either. then.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
So we got 3.
you got 4, 5.
Okay, so it passes.
I'll abstain.
3.
Abstention.
So we had three
5.
votes.
3,
You only need 3 votes if there's only 5
There are
voting
five.
members.
Got 3 votes, you're good.
And 1 abstention and 2 nays, or all abstaining?
abstain.
Yes, I'm abstaining. Yeah, well, so yeah, I'd rather vote for Governor Ames. But
Not
I'm-
available.
I'm abstaining. Well, we could have another vote, couldn't we? we'd have the same, we'd end up with the same result.
No,
Plan is fine if you guys want to do that. You're putting it in the pool and we may not get it anyway,
Right.
so
Right.
that's all we're voting on.
If you guys wanted to name the park, you should have made that very
should have,
clear.
I know.
You should have made it very
Why would-
Yeah,
clear.
if you wanted to assert it.
If you wanted to have a, I mean,
Dawnland Park, is that the name?
yes, it was Dawnland.
So we know it's a park.
Where's Dawnland at?
Dawnland is the native term for this
Mm.
entire region of the country.
Yeah.
Because it's the
Yeah.
furthest part on the land mass that sees the rising of the sun. Yeah. It's a very powerful image.
Yeah, it's really-
Hey, he just liked it, right?
Logo, the branding.
Yeah, you can see the rising sun,
Yeah.
the rising sun. over
Say-
Waldeboro.
Will the street level bureaucrat
So-
understand that?
So just.
I don't think a street level bureaucrat understands a lot of things. I
Yeah.
don't know why that has to
Which
be
co-
singled
I
out.
just wanna quickly say.
Yeah.
Looking at the time of 5:30.
I know.
Yeah,
Budget
yeah, that
meeting
was-
starts at 6 and I'm gonna have to deal with tech in a bit, just would like to remind people that.
Yeah,
Tech,
okay.
are we good?
You
I
should
thought
be good. would like to
thought we had
attend.
a majority vote,
You do.
so be it. It's
Okay.
and
I will
we're
let them
re-
know that we're gonna replace the name.
requesting.
We're requesting replacing the name.
Requesting it. yes.
You guys can have your own discussion.
Yeah. Can you remind me about the National Park Service grant, the deadline for it?
Passed.
It's submitted.
Submitted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So it is. Well, do you have any, because there's timing here, I just wanted to say that it was a very credible effort. And, you're to be commended for pulling that thing together, because I had thought we had a little bit of time into March. And I'm glad we don't need it. Thank you. What is it?
For all that.
If it
Did a
took
lot of
us this
writing.
long
Yeah,
to decide
thank you.
on that fourth name, then it's just as well that's.
So the website for the park is something we definitely need to be making some progress with.
And it's still up and funding is available as far as we know?
With the National Park Service? I just think they're just proceeding as if until something they know.
Just waiting.
Okay.
We have no way of knowing.
Right.
I have friends in the Department of the Interior who say, we show up every morning and wonder. And make plans as though we're gonna be here for a long time. Yeah. The website's important for us to discuss, because I think a little conversation came up about trying to explain fact versus fiction with respect to toxicity at the site, public health. And those questions, the most assertive people who I met were assertive the election day, were assertive around the issue of the place being an unhealthy place. And now that we are considering an important partnership with the food pantry, it was a conversation by email about coming up with on the park website, having a fact versus fiction Q&A kind of thing, in which the technical information is broken down into the simplest, most fundamental. The way I talk is this harmful? Why is it not harmful? Here's the source. Here's the who, what, when, and why. A page like that, it seems to me that's something that needs to be developed as we move forward. And it needs to be simple.
So who was the subcommittee working on that?
I think I'm the subcommittee.
I know that.
No, I meant for the website.
Well, we
Well,
talked about the website, but then we also, when preparing the application for the NPS, one of the number one things we requested was help in basically designing the website. So
I got you.
I would say let's just hold, because we should actually hear from them within a month.
Okay,
So even maybe before the next meeting or soon after, at which point, let's say we get that, it will completely reorient how we move forward. Or I should say, it will streamline how we move forward.
well, I think that'll be, yeah, if we can get some help on that website.
Yeah, and I think that would be definitely a first step that we would want to prioritize.
And Michael, if you're already doing, trying to summarize what we know,
in what format do you want this in? Do you want this text? Do you want a PowerPoint,
a Q&A, I think is great.
a Q&A?
Yeah,
Simple questions.
simple
and
questions and
without-
answers.
I don't think you'll need,
I liked your idea of like a history kind of thing, like Janet's history.
Yeah, what happened on the site? What did they do there? What
Right.
chemicals did they use?
Right.
What's there now?
Mhm.
what's a
Will you be
requisite?
exposed if you go on the
Yeah.
site?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of that, and very simple, like, one page, and then after looking at it, we could decide maybe it could be best presented in a true or false,
Yeah.
like graph form, like, false, 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 false.
Mythbusters.
But the true, you can say, whatever, I mean, you can then present it in a way that's,
Yeah.
yeah, we would
Mythbuster.
provide that.
But if this is gonna go on the website, I wanna
Yes.
know what format you want it in.
Well,
I can make it in any form
oh, right, right.
on
I was-
our website. I don't
on
know
that
about the
website.
new
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. About the new one, then I would say, once we see the information, it may actually suggest.
Maybe they'll give us a
for
millennial.
Okay, the website, yeah.
But like, I think a Q&A for the food pantry, for instance, might be helpful. Maybe they'll be the guinea pigs. to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I think just tie it in with that.
I think I think that's a good idea.
information.
So Mike, that's something you.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll take a lead on that. This is a tough issue because the more technical you get,
Yes.
the more people get afraid.
Yeah, so you can.
So you
But
gotta
But
give
you are
enough,
really good at,
gotta give enough.
you dumb that
information.
stuff down for me all the time and I understand it.
Yeah.
I will,
It's
it's,
true.
it's a delicate balance, giving enough information and not too.
If he could explain how a bridge stands up to me, then you're golden. I'd be golden.
That's an interesting.
Yeah.
Or how an airplane flies, just explain it all to me. I'll be fine. When you're that good, my husband will give you an award. It's taken him 30 years to get me down to the internal of the combustible engine, so
Yeah,
That's so old hat.
I know.
I had a conversation with someone in the community and I stupidly said, well, the vector for reaching this, I blew it, I just lost it immediately. If I just said you can't drink the water, we would have been done. I just complicated it terribly.
Mhm.
So that said, we do have a discussion about Bannon stock because I think that we were hopeful to find out, I think Susan was gonna take lead on that though.
Mhm.
Find out what they could bring forward to us. What else can they do for us, basically, was the question, I think. Do we have anything? Do we know anything?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, okay, well, we can.
I just feel bad about, I don't want to take advantage of them. Because
Sure.
the reality is that the cost of it's beautiful stuff. But if we had to buy it and have it shipped across
Oh,
country
yeah,
versus, I don't want to take advantage and then not buy anything.
but, at the end of the day, one of the things we might end up buying go through a procurement process might be the designs and specifications and we build it, right?
Right, but then there's a lot that you don't get with that, but there's other companies around that we could also look at, so
Okay.
I just,
Okay.
they're beautiful, it's absolutely beautiful stuff. Would love to have it.
But this grant can possibly allow us to hire them for.
Yeah, it sounds
Right,
like
right.
there's some overlap.
What?
There's no finance, it's.
For Nevermore service?
For
For
the
a-
planning.
For a landscape architect.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, they
overlap.
might provide that.
Well, they would provide the technical help, they can't give us money to go procure
No.
somebody.
They would actually do it or help us. do it.
That's what I'm saying.
They do it,
right.
not being.
This isn't a financial.
Yeah, not being
thing,
stuck.
Yeah.
Right, correct.
technical assistance grant. But by the way, on the deliverables, I had meant to ask, and I thought over the weekend, I think this thing needs to keep moving. I better stay out of its way. On the deliverables, I didn't see an actual concept drawings or plan views. This says visualizations for the purpose of outreach. Did I misunderstand what that deliverable is
Who's delivering?
for the grant?
Did you send any visuals in?
Yeah, we sent 9 other documents.
Yeah, no, the deliverables, their deliverables to us included references to visualizations or a park design, but not a concept plan or any plan views of the site.
Well, it's up to them what they actually want to give us.
Okay.
And we tell them what we need,
Uh-huh.
broadly speaking, and then they assess our application based on the expertise that they have on staff or that they can bring in.
Mhm.
And then basically say, well, we can't give you everything, but we can give someone who can do this, this, and this.
Okay.
How can we move forward in that way?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this one, at 1 month, we get an idea of what they will do for us, or is there
We get
another
a-
stage?
We get just whether they'll work with us, and then I think every project they work with is structured differently based on the needs. So at first it's like, we'll work with you, and then this is how we can work with you.
And they're responding by when, did they say?
He said a month.
Something like that.
Okay, very good. Well, the other item that was going to be, I was going to suggest that we delete that item to Max, that we would not discuss committee objectives, because I think we have several objectives that are in play right now. The Q&A, fact sheet, myth versus fiction versus fact for the website. What other things are we considering trying to accomplish or recommend for a path forward in the next couple of months? What are those other things?
Well, I'm hoping if this grant comes through, which would be wonderful, we have more expertise, we actually come up with, again, a rough conceptual plan that we can bring to a warrant. And figure out how to explain what potential funds or no, might be long-term, but to have November be something we're striving to. Hopefully by then we'd know if we're incorporating a food pantry into that design, so that's another thing that the town will know about. So, the website, find a decision, hopefully,
Yeah.
with the food pantry, and I think between the survey and what we've already done, we almost have enough to present.
It feels like it, yeah.
So it just needs to be explained better and integrated now.
Would it, I've been sort of working on the sideline with Janet here, for a while. Who would there be a subcommittee in terms of working with the food pantry, or how would you like that arranged, figured out, so we get more focused on it?
So I think there's two separate things. One, I think if there's a subcommittee here, we all have to remember, in the end, you guys can recommend, but it's the select board that makes the deal. So,
We've already been going through the select board twice
I know,
and a green light.
I know. So really,
Yeah.
their green light here is a recommendation.
Yeah, no, I
So you pretty much, you're already in. It's
No, I
just a
know.
matter of
Yeah.
where, it's a matter of, so it's up to you guys if you want to have.
The reality is that for coordination, phone, email, probably within 24 hours, you're going to be talking to somebody who talked to somebody else, and we can cooperate. I just think if I'll give you the distribution list for the current committee. And as things arise, the committee of the whole by email, which is, we can't make any decisions anyway. Those are for public vote. We can stay close to each other as each step of a development occurs.
I think if you came and provided an update of where you are, if you could just put that on the agenda
Routinely. yeah.
routinely, that would be
Standing-
great.
Standing new item.
And join the committee. I don't think we need a separate committee at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm delighted.
And are
Okay.
you actively fundraising now to build
Sorry?
something? Are you actively fundraising now to build something? I mean, when could you break ground? Not that you can break ground, but when can you pour some cement?
But that's an unanswerable question right now, but I think that
It's not imminent, and you've got a lot of work to do, right?
yeah, no, right, yeah. We will probably put an ad if anybody has any land. And hopefully maybe somebody has land that wants a tax write-off, maybe. But that's on the side, sort of, the board members wanted to take that route too. So we're not all in one basket. But we're ready. I think if our group can be satisfied to the extent they can be on the health issues, we're ready to rip them off. Frankly.
And they would start fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, once we get fundraising, well, I would say probably, we start fundraising, I probably would say we could break around in a year.
Which I think would be great for the town
That's
to see
optimistic.
something
That's
happen.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Oh,
And our goal could be to come up with a somewhat refined or revised plan from what we have, incorporating the play-based park
We've
aspects.
got the paths and we've got the food pantry, we've got.
Right,
a
and
lot of
we've
stuff
got.
going on.
And you have
amphitheater,
2
And
minutes.
we've got,
And we-
it all
Yes, ma'am.
fits,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
but having the park service person to help us sort of take it to a next visual level, I think would be helpful,
Yeah,
but I
we'll
don't
know by April,
okay.
Thank you. Very
But
good.
I don't
That's
think
why I was
the
hoping for
town-
the date. Thank you.
In November needs to see a finished plan. They just need to know the things we're gonna work towards.
You never know how far we will get when you
Maybe
get,
we will.
right? We
Yeah.
really don't know.
It's worth
Yeah.
trying.
Alex, we'll put you on the distribution, look for that, any correspondence comes out from the committee, you're on the distribution, and I guess you have to catch up with Julie to get formally, request your
I'll
participation.
send you the paperwork. I think we might already have you since you're on EDC. We just might have to recirculate you.
I'm not sure I even did it for these. See. Anyway.
So we need to vacate the room, we'll, a motion to adjourn,
And second it.
okay, who motioned that, by the way?
We were at the
Janet.
same time.
Janet.
Janet.
Right.
Thank you.
Janet
We'll
Barber.
vote on this one.
And I apologize, I ate some chocolate. I didn't know it wasn't.
It's
available.
budget committee.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. about
That's okay.
Who's did you
We're
take?
trying to sweeten them up.
Kelly.
Please.
Kelly, oh,